Hello, all of my wonderful makers here in the Handmade Business Collective. I am super excited to be bringing this training to you today. Today, we're talking about how to find more time in your day. As we know, it is a huge struggle to try and figure out what you need to do and when you need to do it, and then finding the space to do everything that's going to generate money in your business. We have social, we have email, we have making our products, we have shipping our products, we have new product creation and design, and all of this takes time. And if you are working another job, you have a limited time. If you have a family that, kids have demands, spouses, partners, heck, my dog has demands, right? Like there are so many things that are pulling on our time and need our attention. And so it can be overwhelming sometimes to figure out what to do. And the biggest challenge with this is a lot of times as makers and creatives, we have ideas, we have things we want to do, new things we want to try. And we don't always have clarity on what is the right thing to do, what is the right thing to try for me or my business, or you or your business. Because what works for one business might not work for another, but we can get stuck in the cycle of trying all these different things all the time in an effort to make more money, find more time, create more products. So today's training, I'm going to give some suggestions on how you can create, I'm sorry, like my eyes are going weird, my contact is bothering me. But some suggestions on how you can optimize what you do so that you have the time and the space to do more of your money-making activities. These are some things that I coach my private clients on. I do a lot of calls and guidance on how to get more done in a limited amount of time. My contact is really bothering me, y'all. So what I want to start with is the number one comment I get from my maker clients is that they are struggling to show up on social in a way they think they need to. They're like, I don't have time to be making more videos. I don't know how I'm going to create more content. You know, we're on Facebook, but I don't have the bandwidth to create anything for email or TikTok or anything like that. And if you have been hanging out with me for a while, you may have noticed that I reuse stuff. I reuse my content. You may see posts on my Facebook, on the page, or in this group that also go out in email because the information is valuable no matter what platform it's on. And if I'm on Facebook, only about 10% of my audience is seeing anything I share. And in my emails, I have about a 30% open rate, which is great, but that's only a third of my audience. And the chance of that audience having a total crossover is very, very slim. So by reusing my content on multiple platforms, I am increasing the likelihood that an audience member is going to see that information. And so don't feel like you have to recreate the wheel every time. You can really just reuse whatever you're putting up on Facebook that week. That's your email this week. Additionally, one creator specifically was like, we're so busy trying to get product made because we need to get it out the door because we're behind, that we don't have the time to try and take videos or take photos of behind the scenes in the process. And so I asked them, like, have you recorded videos before of behind the scenes? Well, yeah, we've done it before. We posted it on our stories on Instagram. Okay. Well, how long ago was that? If their videos were shared a while ago, it's the same thing. Stories are gone after 24 hours. There is no record of that. And even if people have seen it, they've probably forgotten that they've seen that same video. So just share the same video again. If you don't have the time to create new content, reuse old content, especially old content that people loved the first time around. I mean, as long as it's not like crazy outdated information, right? So my biggest recommendation is reuse what you can. You have probably created a ton of content, a ton of information. Scroll through your old Facebook posts, your old Instagram posts, see what people liked, see what people engaged with, and schedule it out for this year. So that's my number one tip. My second tip is look at your production process. So even if you think you're doing a really great job of streamlining your process, there are almost always ways you can improve this. So most makers, they're like, well, I do, so I was a sewer, I was a bag maker. So for instance, I'd be like, well, I did all my cutting of my small bags at once. And then I would do all the sewing, of my small bags at once, and then all the finishing, and then all the snap installation. But I would do all my small bags, and then I would do my mediums, and then my large, but what I realized was I would set up my cutting station, do my cutting for my one bag size, then change over to my sewing station. And then I would do that. And then I would change over to my snap station. And what I realized was I needed to be doing all of the cutting at once. So I would lay out everything I needed to do all of my cutting for all of my products in a single shot. So it may have meant that I was spending an entire day just cutting out product. But what that meant was I was setting up my cutting station, I was doing all my cutting, and then it was done. And then I would set up my sewing station. And that probably took about 2 days, if we're being honest, because I was not the fastest sewer. But so I had my sewing station set up, and it was just cranking out everything out one after the other. I just hit my microphone. And then I would set up at my snap station. And so this works for almost any product line. If you are a candle maker, you're probably going, well, I'm going to pour all of this scent, and then we're going to label all of this scent, and then we're going to package all of this scent. And so how can you improve or streamline that process? Well, I can streamline it because I will pour all of this scent, and then I will be pouring all of this scent, and I will pour all of this one. So now we have 3 scents all poured, all curing at the same time. Then we go through and label them all 3 at the same time. And then you go through and you do the final packaging on all of them at the same time. Now, it may be that you're doing it, so then you want to look at just how can I make this more efficient? If you know that you're going to sell, maybe you tend to only do a month's worth of product at a time. Well, can you expand that? If you know you're going to sell, 10 in March and 10 in April, can we just expand your production process? Can we set aside an entire day where you are just pouring all the candles you need for 3 months, for instance? And then we're going through and labeling all those candles. So you're doing a very focused production time, but you're getting it all done in a single run instead of setting up every couple days to do another run. So that's one way you can do it. Another way is to actually batch your days. And I actually just kind of referenced this, but we try to do all of the things on all of the days, and that doesn't always work. That's a lot of content switching. And so start by theming your days. For instance, a lot of people, Fridays are their finance days. That's when they go over their numbers, their sales, their expenses, anything they need to know for that. Or if you do a lot of vendor events, Fridays are their prep days, counting inventory, packaging it up, and getting the vehicle loaded. Another thing is identify what times of day you work best. If you're really creative, you've got the creative juices going in the mornings, then you may say that Tuesday mornings, I'm going to create all my social content for the week. And then Wednesday or Thursday mornings, I'm going to work on new product development because that's when I'm most creative. And then in the afternoons, well, that's when I really just need repetitive work that's going to keep me moving. That's when you do the production part that doesn't take a lot of brain work. And also batch some of the customer service and delivery. For instance, a lot of my makers, I recommend that they only ship twice a week. For instance, Tuesdays and Fridays. We think that people are going to expect these faster turnarounds because of Amazon. But the thing is, if we clearly communicate a turnaround time to our customers and we stick with it, so if we tell them it's going to be a 3 to 5 day shipping turnaround time, if they understand that and know to expect that, that's not an issue. I don't think I've ordered from anyone that's actually done like a 2-day shipping for me in ages, because I understand, and the post office is so incredibly bonkers right now, that that's not a problem. So batch that work and only do your shipping on certain days, because then you can just do all the labels at once, all the packaging at once, all the, putting it into a bin and scheduling the pickup at once, so that you are not going, oh shoot, I need to pack up 5 orders today before the end of the day and make sure I get it to the post office or out for the mailman. Because again, that's content switching, and each time you switch tasks, it takes time away. There's one study that actually shows that if you get distracted or interrupted when doing something, it takes 25 minutes to get back on track. And so think about how often you're switching between social media and production and shipping and answering customer questions. That's a lot of time lost. And so by grouping activities together, by batching our time, by only doing certain things on certain days, you are able to create more space in your schedule. Now, I know some of this you're like, well, okay, but that's like pretty intuitive. The thing is, even if it's intuitive, we don't do it. And so I encourage you to actually take out whatever you use to track your time, your Google Calendar, your planner, and actually mark down in there, this is my production time and this is what I'm doing during production. I'm pouring candles. I am cutting all of my felt shapes out. I am mixing up my sugar scrubs. And then keep an eye, are you getting distracted and checking Facebook during this? No, that's not Facebook time. So just the act of pulling out your calendar, your planner, and writing down, this is when I'm doing these activities, that alone can actually increase the likelihood that you're going to do that in the time allotted and that you are going to focus on that task. And so by doing this, it may be a bit of a process and you may take time to figure out what works for you, maybe a different production schedule, maybe a different system. But taking the time to identify and recognize and try new methods of this, you will create more time. And so I actually use Google Calendars. If anyone's interested to see how I time block using Google Calendar, drop a comment here and I will do a video on how I typically do that. Otherwise, if you were like, this sounds great, but I actually don't know how to implement this in my own business, I gotcha. Drop me a comment, shoot me a message. We can get on a quick 20-minute call and we can talk through what it would look like to create more space in your calendar and schedule while still creating the products and doing the activities necessary to make you more money. I will see you all later and I hope you all have a wonderful day.